Imagine if Nano Banana Pro didn't just generate images, but listens to you like a full film crew taking your direction. Well, thanks to Gemini Pro's reasoning, Nano Banana Pro now listens to every keyword you give it, giving you ultimate control to master AI storytelling. In this video, I'll show you 25 power keywords across 6 different categories. We've got focus, lighting, realism, moods, styling, and emotions. I will be using a wide range of characters to show that these keywords work in all sorts of situations. Let's start with lighting. This helps you shape how the whole scene feels, guide the viewer's eyes, and add depth to your images. To keep the video moving smoothly, I won't go over the full prompts. I'll just share the power keywords. So with this prompt without power keywords, we get this image. Now, if we add golden hour, warm highlights, soft flare, then we get these kind of images. And if we use this as the input image and ask it to set the image in the golden hour with warm highlights and soft flare, then we get this kind of image. And I really like the sunset glow on his hair. And also the flares here makes it look really cinematic. For the next lighting style, I'm going to use this image. I'll be using Higgsfield AI for this, where I can use Nano Banana Pro and all the other top AI image and video models. If you want to try it yourself, the link is in the description below. Now, in the image tab with the Nano Banana Pro model selected, I've added my prompt in here and I've set the aspect ratio to 16:9 and it will set the resolution to 4K. Now, they also often have special deals with unlimited generations on different models, so I recommend checking out their pricing plan. Now, you can see I added the words ambient lighting, gentle bounce fill to the prompt. So let's hit generate and see the result. And that gives us this result, and I really like it because here you can see the gentle bounce fill, what comes from this light over here. And I know if we compare this with this shot looks a bit dull, and I mean, yeah, this looks really cinematic to me. And then I used this as the input image and asked for the same lighting style. And as you can clearly see, it really didn't work. And in all my testing using an input image, it worked well about 95% of the time. But in some cases, it just doesn't. For the next power keyword, I'm going to use this image. And I will be adding the power keyword with edge lighting for depth. And now you clearly can see the nice light on the side here and on the arm as well, and even on the face of the character on this side. And here as well. And now you can also clearly see that these images have a lot of depth, especially if you compare it to this image. Now, I also used this as the input image, and even there it added some extra effect. Let's move on with this image. And for that I used the power keywords, hard side lighting, long dramatic shadows. And in both images we can clearly see the nice hard side lighting and the dramatic long shadows. I really love these shots. Then when I use this as the input image, we also get a nice result. Let's move on to styling. This helps you define the visual identity of your scene, from cinematic looks to strong artistic styles, and gives you control over how bold or subtle your image appears. And for that I'm going to use this character as the input image. Let's start with this image, and I'm going to use the keywords chiaroscuro photography style and strong contrast for this. And now we can clearly see that the whole image is very dark and the lighting is focused on the subject. Now our eyes straight on go to her. And when I use this as the input image, we also see that the image gets a bit darker and also the highlights on the face, but it's not as dramatic as before. So for the next power keyword, we're going to use these images with this prompt. And the only thing I added in front is cinematic film still off. And now look at this. This looks very cinematic. This could go straight into a film. And if we compare it with these two images, then we can clearly see there's no cinematic vibe in there. And then when I use this as the input image, we can see that the image got more contrast and it looks a bit more cinematic. Now, one thing you gotta understand is that the base image, which we can see here, has influence on the result of the power keywords. As we can see here, these two images have the exact same prompt, only here the woman is described by this text. And here, that information is driven by this input image. And since this image has a strong fashion photography style look, you can also see that in the output image. Even the HUD looks very professional and very slick. And here we can see a bit more of a normal cabin, and also the woman looks more natural. The next set of styling keywords are based on photography terms. So I'll start with one text to image result and add each keyword on top, so you can see how the image changes step by step. So let's start with this image, and normally with loads of other models you need to add candid photography or shot on an iPhone in the prompt, but here that's not even necessary with Nano Banana Pro. So then if I added capture in photography style to it, then we can see that this image looks like her boyfriend has a professional DSLR camera and it looks very slick. Now if we add fashion in front of photography, now it looks like there's professional studio lighting, a professional photographer and somebody guiding the model in the right position. Then on top of that I added hyper real details rim lighting, and now you can clearly see the nice rim lighting on her hairline and even over here and also here on her leg. And to show you that I'm not just picking the best images, here on this image we have the same nice rim lighting effect. And if you want to have more saturation in your image, you could add and saturated color tones to your prompt, and then you get these kind of results. For the next power keywords I will be using this as the input image again. And we start with this prompt and base image. And we're going to add the power keyword surrealistic photography in front of it. And I know it is a bit off topic when it comes to AI filmmaking, but I just wanted to show you how nice effects you can get if you start adding art styles into your prompts. And you can see I added the power keyword in here, and then you get these kind of results. And I also used this as the input image and then asked to turn the image into surrealistic photography, and we get these kind of results. But it really shines if you use it solely for text to image prompting. As you can see, these two images have the same prompt, only the image on the right has surrealistic photography in front of it. And look at the difference, I just really like this effect. And you can also get results like this or like this. Another fun art style to use is the anamorphic art, and then you get these kind of results. Let's move on to mood modifiers. These help you build the atmosphere of your scene and instantly sets the emotional feeling of your story. Before I continue, I want to show you how I created the video from the intro. For that I first made this image on the left, and in the focus section I'll show you how I created it. And then I added a mood modifier on top of the right image to get a dramatic result. And in a moment I'll show you exactly which mood modifier I used. And on Higgsfield AI in the video tab with the Kling 2.5 turbo model selected, here you can see I've added my image and I used the prompt "The woman is trying to climb over the rocks, shake camera." And then I used the duration of 5 seconds and the resolution I set to 1080p. And what I like about Kling 2.5 turbo, it's not very expensive and it gives pretty good results. Then I generated it and then we got this result. And I really like it. It looks really cool to me. And according to Higgsfield, they currently offer the lowest prices on the market for image and video creation. Now back to the mood modifiers. I chose this character as the input image on purpose to show that even with such a specific vibe, the Nano Banana Pro model still listens to them. So for the first power keyword I used this prompt with this image. And then I only added "in an epic atmosphere." And now look at the result. It's very dramatic. And it also looks very epic, and it even does it on her face and the whole outfit. I really love this shot. Then I used this as the input image and asked it to turn it into an epic atmosphere. And then we got this result. Let's move on to the next one. And for that I used this as the prompt with this image. And then I added "in a sinister atmosphere." And it looks very dark and very grimy. And do bear in mind that if you would use an input image with a normal character, it probably would even look more sinister. Now, if I use this as the input image, then we got this result. And I can't really tell if the character is still the same because the face looks a bit different, but I really like the shadow over here and also the mood outside. It all feels very sinister to me. For the next one, I used this as the prompt with this image. And then I added "in a dreamy atmosphere." And this is great for storylines where the character is lost in thought, imagining something or experiencing a soft emotional moment. Then when I used this as the input image, then we got this result. And even this looks very dreamy to me, and yeah, I quite like it. Another keyword you can use is "in a cozy atmosphere", and this works for warm, relaxing story moments where the character feels very safe. Then you can also use "in an energetic atmosphere", and this fits fast-paced story scenes full of action and excitement. The last one with the moods is "in an intimate atmosphere", and this is perfect for close, emotional story moments or personal conversations. And to turn this image into this image, I use the power keyword "eerie atmosphere". Let's move on to emotions. This helps you show what your characters are feeling so your scenes connect better with the viewer. With emotions, it works like this. I start with a simple prompt, then I add one power keyword. Next, I show the same prompt with another power keyword. In the third image, I combine them because describing the emotions in detail gives the best results in Nano Banana Pro 3. So with the first one, I used with one eyebrow raised, and you can clearly see that her eyebrow is raised here. So with the next image, I used with a playful expression. And yeah, this looks very playful to me. Then when I combined it, I used her expression is playful and teasing, with one eyebrow raised and a small smirk that shows a bit of mischief and charm. And I really like this image. This really portrays a lot of emotion and yeah, I just love it. Then for the next emotion, I started with this prompt and I added with a serious expression. And yeah, she looks very serious to me. Then in the next one, I changed it to with focused eyes, and you can clearly see that she's focusing and she's looking somewhere. Then if I combined it and I said showing her serious and focused eyes, slightly narrowed as if scanning the terrain, and it is not that much different as the image before, but overall it just looks a bit more realistic to me. Now for the next set, I used this prompt and I added with a vulnerable expression. And this image looks very good and I think her expression is very vulnerable. Then I used with a distressed expression and I also like this emotion. Then when I combined it and said with a vulnerable and openly distressed expression, then in my opinion this emotion looks the most realistic to me. Let's move on to focus. This helps you control depth of field, blur out distractions and point the viewer straight to the most important part of the image. And for that I used this as the input image with this prompt. And then when I added the power keyword 100mm prime lens f8, then we get this result. And this is great for making the character stand out from the scenery. Now, if we use the same prompt, but then we use 25mm prime lens f1.2, then we get this effect. And now you can see here, even the foreground has a bit of blur. The background is blurred again as before, and now we even focus more on our character. This is another result where you can see the depth of field here and also the depth of field here. Now it gets really exciting, because if we change it to f0.4, then we get this result, and now everything is completely out of focus here and here as well, and we totally focus on the main character. And in this image it's the same. Look at that, even the fingers are blurred, and I don't know, I just really love this shot. You could also use only the keyword bokeh lighting, and then we get these kind of results. And this is ideal for stylish film-like shots with soft blurred light in the background. Now, if we use 12mm to 17mm wide angle lens f8 to f16, then we get this kind of result. And we call this deep depth of field, where almost everything in the scene is sharp and clear and is perfect for getting a much wider view of the whole scene. Now, I also added this as the input image and used the same prompt. And then we got this result. And this is great to get more sharpness in your image and also zoom out. Let's move on to realism. This helps you make characters and scenes look more natural with real-life skin details and imperfections. So nothing feels overly polished or artificial. So for this, I started with this prompt, and in this prompt there's no detailed information about her face or her skin texture. And then we get this kind of result. Now, if we add her skin texture is crisp and natural with visible pores and subtle freckles, then we get this result. And this, in my opinion, looks more realistic. Then I also used this as the input image and used also the same keywords. And I'm not sure this technique is worth using, since the woman doesn't look exactly the same anymore. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. There are much more power keywords for realism. So I'll start with this simple prompt and then add new realism keywords on top of it each time, so you can clearly see what each one does. A quick side note, I wouldn't use all of them at once. I just want to show you how well Nano Banana Pro reacts to each realism detail. So we continue from the prompt we used in example 24, crisp and natural with visible pores and subtle freckles, and we can see them clearly here. Then I added she has soft natural skin hairs and tiny natural blemishes, and here we can see the blemishes, and we can also clearly see the natural skin hairs. Then I added on top, she has natural lip lines with subtle lip moisture, and we can clearly see that here. And then I also added her hair has got natural hair thickness with soft flyaway hairs, and I can't really see the hair thickness, but the flyaway hairs we can clearly see here on the side. Then I also added light catches in the eyes, showing her detailed iris patterns. And now you can clearly see the iris details, but the image doesn't look natural anymore in my opinion. Too many realism keywords make the model overdo it, so I recommend using only a few that fit your character. I also used Higgsfield AI to create these side-by-side images for my characters. And you can use these as an input image to create full storyboards using just one single prompt. And in this tutorial, I'll show you exactly how I do this, step by step. I also want to thank Higgsfield AI for sponsoring this video. And if you want to try it out yourself, I'll leave a link in the description below.